Hey everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the Affliction Lock in Battle for Azeroth. So once again, Battle for Azeroth's been out for a little while and we're going to jump in game right now, play around with a couple of the abilities and talents and just see how the Affliction Lock feels. I played a little bit of this as normal and it feels pretty similar to the Legion Affliction Warlock with a couple of changes. And there's a couple of abilities I want to swap in and swap out to see if one is better or worse, or whether just leaving it as close to the raw Affliction Lock as possible is the better way to go. So join me guys, we're going to jump across now and we're going to have a look at the Affliction Lock. Alright there everyone, so this is the Affliction Lock and it stays pretty much the same from Legion. It's still a high dot class with a couple of spenders, but the extra talents they've added to the spec makes this feel, a little bit more in depth. The problem I had with it in Legion is that it felt too shallow, and that's why I didn't play it enough. It felt like it was only a couple of abilities and your one basic cooldown, which was your artifact weapon. But now with all the extra abilities, it does feel, well, like I said, a little bit more involving, and I like that about this spec. So what am I talking about here? Well, now this Summon Dark Glare, the ability, or talent, sorry, rather, in Legion is now basically baseline. So you can use Summon Dark Glare whenever you want, and he will extend the duration of all your dots on targets, plus he will do increased damage for the more dots you've got. Pretty simple, right? So he's baseline, and I think that's a really cool addition to the spec. Talents that you use here, guys, some of the talents that they've added to the spec makes it feel really streamlined, and we'll get into the talents in a second. I'm just killing some wolves here. So I'm using Nightfall, and on the top row there, as well as right next to Nightfall, you'll see Drain Soul. So those who are not familiar with the spec, your Drain Soul's been taken out of your basic core toolkit, and it's been replaced with Shadow Bolt. So I absolutely don't know the exact reason they've done this. However, they have changed what Drain Soul does. So if we read it here, let me just dot up this howler. So Drain Soul basically just drains or causes damage to the target over a channeled period, but it does increase damage to targets below 20% health. So it acts as a little bit of a burn ability. But I don't know the reason why they've done the swap to Shadow Bolt rather than just doing the change and leaving Drain Soul in. But I've been playing around with Shadow Bolt and I really don't know if going back to Drain Soul is better. And we'll be testing that out here soon once I kill a couple of these howlers. And we'll find out if Drain Soul really is the better way to go or whether your Shadow Bolt is still the better way to go. But that aside, guys, I'm using Absolute Corruption. Obviously, Corruption is now permanent on targets, deals extra damage. You've still got Breathe and Agony, and you've still got Siphon Life there, so nothing much has changed. I'm using Burning Rush just for that extra bit of mobility. You know, sometimes you need to get out of places fast or catch up to the group. Vile Taint. Now, this row here is your AoE row. I was using Sow the Seeds because I absolutely love Seed of Corruption. I think Seed of Corruption is a fantastic ability, and I've used it quite a bit. So I'm just going to summon Dark Glare in here and kill off this guy here. Kill off Roland. Excuse me, Roland. What are you doing? I'll put my Agony... No, sorry. Yep, my Agony back onto the target. So you can see Unstable Affliction just deals significant damage, as always. So what else do we have here, guys? So yeah, the Vile Taint. I've been using Vile Taint. So Vile Taint, you launch it at the target, so you can see that it's actually a placed ability, and it explodes, dealing a certain amount of shadow damage. It doesn't put dots on anything, it just does shadow damage. But the more mobs you have in that range, it does more damage. It's pretty self-explanatory. But it does a ton of damage. So, great if you needed to burn mobs down. However, the difference between Vile Taint and Sow the Seeds is that it doesn't do, say, burst damage. So when Seed of Corruption explodes, it explodes and does a massive amount of damage and damages everything around it. Well, with Sow the Seeds, you can have two of those, and if you put it on multiple targets, you can imagine how much the collateral really goes off for. Where Vile Taint doesn't really have burst damage, it just does AoE, but it does significant AoE. So a little bit of a different way of going about doing the same sort of job as such. So as we move down, Dark Fury, that's just going to reduce the cooldown of Shadow Fury for me, and Shadow Embrace. So Shadow Embrace and the other talents on that row, I felt like Shadow Embrace was the way to go. You guys can make up your own mind with what talents you wish to go for, but Shadow Embrace, basically, if we just read it here, Shadow Bolt applies Shadow Embrace, increasing your damage dealt to the target by 3% for 10 seconds, stacking. So when you change from Shadow Bolt to Drain Soul, it absolutely changes the tooltip, and it reads, you know, Drain Soul increases, you know, it's just swapping in and out. More of Sacrifice. Now, I was going to use this in a dungeon, but I want to have a pet for leveling purposes, so I kept it. I didn't take it, sorry, I kept Shadow Embrace. So I'm just going to pick up some of the quests here, and we're just going to complete this. So the other talent I took was Creeping Death, which your Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, and Unstable Affliction, deal their full damage 15% faster. So for world content for me, as well as dungeon content, I felt that this was the way to go. But your Dark Soul Misery, which increases your haste by 30% for 20 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown, absolutely should be taken and used if you need to deal, you know, mass amounts of damage to a boss. And I'm going to actually, when we get into a dungeon here, guys, if we get into a dungeon here, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try using Dark Soul Misery and quite possibly Sow the Seeds or Vile Taint. But right now, I'm going to swap in Drain Soul. So that just replaces my Shadow Bolt with Drain Soul again. And we'll see what is really better. So I didn't have a problem with Shadow Bolt. It was just the fact that it's just an option for you all, which it always does. Oh, he's going to pull all this. Sweet. So, Seed of Corruption into a Vile Taint. Put my Agony on the most important mobs, and we'll just drain some soul here. So yeah, Vile Taint absolutely smashes as far as AoE goes. Absolutely smashes. So you're basically just replacing Sow the Seeds with Vile Taint if you want to take that. I think it's a pretty cool ability, and it's on a 20-second cooldown, so it absolutely comes off cooldown really quickly. So we'll just dot this up, put some Unstable Affliction on, and use the Drain Soul. And here we go, we've got another group here. Sow the Seeds into Vile Taint, into Dark Glare. Throw out some Agonies. Another Sow the Seeds because I got a Freeze Shard. Yeah, absolutely. Corruption, Vile Taint, they're just going nuts right now. Dark Glare's doing his thing. Now, Dark Glare wasn't super effective there, guys. I should have probably held him, but because I needed to get more Agonies off and probably some Unstable Afflictions for him to do the majority of the damage. Get some Unstable Afflictions off now. Boom! So the Seed, it's just such a satisfying ability. When you see that go off, it's cool. Alright, so we're going to use Dark Soul Misery here into your dots. A couple of Unstable Afflictions. No, I've only got one. Into Shadow Bolts. I'm going to have to move here in a second. Got a free proc on it, which is awesome. So you can see Shadow Bolt does a lot more damage than Drain Soul, but I think it would come down to the absolute fight that you're doing that would dictate, you know, whether it's viable or not. So we've got some dots off on all these. I am low on soul shards. Oh no! Yes, I stayed on. That's alright. I'm on. I stayed on. Everything's fine. Whoop. And we'll place the dots back on. And he's about to die. So Affliction, long story short, feels very, very similar to what it has been in Legion. So if you're very familiar with how Affliction works in Legion, you will pick this up in no time whatsoever. Alright, so let's sow the seeds on a couple of these mobs. So with Vile Taint gone, your only real AoE is your Seed of Corruption. Whoop.
None shall stand against the storm.
Put some dots on, use the Dark Soul Misery. And a couple of Unstable Afflictions out into a Dark Glare. So it works really well. Oh, I've overkept my shards like a noob. I need an interrupt. That's not an interrupt. The only problem with this fight is they drop dots because they run in and out of that green barrier. Alright, big group. We're going to go into Vile Taint. Seed of Corruption on a few things. See, that's where it comes in its own. Yep. So Vile Taint is just smashed it there. It's about to come off cooldown again. Might be able to get it off again. There's probably no points, but yeah, that is where Vile Taint shines. Massive groups like that.
For the last time, join me or die.
Get some Unstable Afflictions onto the target.
Never.
Into some Shadow Bolts.
Cast your bodies to the blackened depths.
And I gotta move here.
For eternity.
And I'm gonna move again. Dragging that ball over to the target. There we go. That worked brilliantly. So it's a fairly simple spec. It really is. Let me just see if Vile Taint's going to do anything on a single target. Not really. It's a fairly straightforward, simple spec. There's nothing significantly out of place. You've got your dots, you've got your filler, you've got a couple of abilities tacked onto the side, and guess what? It works. It really does work. I just think Destruction feels so much more. How would you put it? Smooth and meshed together. I love playing Destruction so much more than Affliction, but Affliction works. If you've loved it in Legion, guys, you will love it here in BFA. You really will. So what we're gonna do is, for this last fight, is quickly change to Drain Soul and see what we can do with Drain Soul. Get some dots off on targets. See if Drain Soul really is better than Shadow Bolt. Now that they've changed it. Shadow Embrace stacks up quite quickly with Drain Soul by the looks of it, so that's good. That's really good. Alright, let's see what we can do. Into a couple of dots here. Into Dark Glare, Drain Soul. Oh yeah, that feels good. So adding Drain Soul back to the rotation just makes it feel really, really close to the Legion Affliction Warlock. Some dots out. I didn't change my pet, so I do not have an interrupt, which is bad of me. You definitely get a lot more soul shards with Drain Soul. Well, when things are dying, obviously. Just like that. Get some dots off on the target. Heap of dots off onto the target, and away we go. So yeah, using the Drain Soul makes it feel very, very, very similar to the Legion Affliction Lock, which comes at no surprise, really. done. Well, everyone, that is the Affliction Lock in BFA. That's just a quick run through of what it feels like and what it looks like when it's working, guys. Look, I'm really happy with the Affliction Lock. I think it's still a solid damage over time builder. It works really well, and it works very similar to the Legion Affliction Lock. Look, if it's not broken, why fix it, I guess, and that is probably the mentality that Blizzard have gone for on this, and I agree with them. It wasn't broken, it's not broken, so don't fix it. Am I happy with a couple of the new abilities, such as your Summon Dark Glare, your Dark Soul Misery, all these new talents that they've added in? Yeah, absolutely. I think it works really, really well, and I absolutely applaud Blizzard for giving you the option to use and take Drain Soul or Shadow Bolt, depending on whether you like it or don't like it, or playstyle. And a lot of the sim crafting and time will tell whether Drain Soul will edge out or not edge out over top of Shadow Bolt. But long story short, guys, is I'm happy with where the Affliction Lock is, though I may not play it as a main spec for the Warlock. I think I'll settle with the other two. But overall, guys, I'm happy. But leave a comment in the comment section down below whether you like the Affliction Lock or not, or whether you'd rather a different spec. But thank you so much, guys, for joining me on this video. And like always, follow me on my social media platforms. The links are in the description below. You guys know what to do. And until next time, have a great day.